Welcome to Hochoka Podcast.
Equine therapy at St. Joseph's Indian School. Why is it more than horse sense? Hello, Matakiepi, and welcome to Hochoka, here at the center of the campus of St. Joseph's Indian School. I'm Scott Wooster. I'm today's Hochoka host, and we're glad you joined our circle today to talk to us about part 3 of a series on the counseling services here at St. Joseph's Indian School. Today, we get to talk with Patty Bourne, who is our equine specialist at St. Joe's, and we get to talk with Robin Connect, who is the Director of Counseling Services. Patty's going to give us some insight into the dynamics at the heart of equine therapy, and she and Robin will tell us a little bit about how this therapy is utilized with our students and the therapy that we provide to the kids here at school. So welcome, Patty. And welcome, Robin. It's good to have you guys here.
Thanks, Scott.
Patty, I'm going to start with you. And I just want you to give me an idea of who you are. Tell me a little bit about you and what brought you to St. Joe's Indian School, please.
Well, I am Patty Bourne. Mm-hmm. I've been here 4 years. I am from the Oglala Sioux tribe. Mm-hmm. I was raised on the western side of the state.
Okay. And you grew up on a ranch?
No.
Okay.
Actually, no, I did not. My dad was a mechanic. He was a heavy equipment mechanic, but as I grew up, we always had horses. So I'm a family of 5. I'm the youngest. And we always had horses. Every day we went riding. It was just a family thing. It was just something that it was natural to us. So as I grew up, they grew up with me. I was always in 4-H. I was the president of 4-H. We always did 4-H with horses. Mm-hmm. It was something that it was in our blood.
And you're on a ranch now.
Yeah. Yes.
And you raise horses, and they are part of your life back at home. And now you've brought that love of horses here to St. Joe's, which is great.
So my husband and I, we live in Fort Thompson. Mm-hmm. We are on a ranch. I think as of right now, we have like 79 head of quarter horses and thoroughbreds.
Wow.
So we breed. So we breed our quarter horses, and then our thoroughbreds we use for Indian relay racing, and then we also do gate racing. So we go all over the countryside. In the last 3 years, we've started breeding our thoroughbreds. So we do actually have our own studs now. We actually have our breed mares, and we have our race team. So all of that is separate. Right. Everything is all kind of a transition into. We wanted to focus on what we wanted to build. Mm-hmm. It was kind of one of those things where we thought that if we started breeding, that we could introduce our own bloodlines to the breeding and the racing industry.
Mm-hmm. If you've got all that experience and it just happened, I love it when things come together, this serendipity. St. Joe's at 4 years ago was looking to maybe get into this equine therapy piece, and Robin was a spearhead of that whole program, or a big part of it. And things worked out pretty well. But Robin, how did you dream about doing that in the first place? What was this all about for you?
I have, prior to St. Joe's, have zero experience with horses. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been on trail rides. I had some friends that had horses, but I grew up in Sioux Falls. Didn't grow up around horses.
Right.
When I became the Director of Counseling Services, one of the topics that was talked about in a meeting is how to incorporate culture more into the lives of our students and on campus. Mm-hmm. And equine therapy came up, and that is how it started, was just an idea in a meeting, and then we took it from there and developed a program where we are building on every year, and we have an equine therapy center in progress right now, and when that's done, I see the program continuing to grow from that point, and it just started out as a simple conversation that evolved into the program that we have today.
It would probably be safe to say that in the beginning you had no idea how this was going to blossom, or you couldn't see where that was headed with that simple conversation.
Absolutely. And there were times at the very beginning that we tried some things and it didn't work. And so we moved and tried something else and have just kind of approached the program with that thought process of what's going to work best for our students and their families and for our staff. And if we need to pivot and make a change, we do, and have the flexibility and support to do that.
Yeah. And the whole school is involved in that. The counseling staff, the all of the kids, and they'll be more involved once we get our indoor barn and can work with the horses year round. And all of us, you said you have no experience with horses. I'm about where you were, grew up in Pierre, and I didn't.
City boy.
Yeah, city boy. and there's a mix. Again, there's a spectrum here on campus of people who have a background maybe closer to yours, and then some who are closer to where I was starting with very little experience, and we're kind of dragging everybody along to get around these horses.
Right.
And one cool thing is I find with me being around horses, and I think you found the same, is the horses have their own way to bring you along. You just slowly get you keep showing up, and you get more and more natural with the horses. Explain, if you would, in just a nutshell, for the word is Igala. Can you explain that? That's a horse term, or that's a cultural term?
That is a therapy term.
Okay.
And it is a guy by, was it his name, Greg Christensen?
So Greg Kirsten kind of started the Igala approach in therapy. And what he found when he started that is it was a good foundation, but it became quite rigid. The partners that he had in that process were wanted it to be very strict, and that's not his intention. So he actually split off, even though he was one of the original founders, and started the OK Corral series. And that is the program that we are following and getting training in, because that fits more with what we're doing here. We have such a unique setting because we have mental health counselors that provide therapy services in all different forms for students. And so equine therapy is another tool that can be used. And so we need it to be pretty flexible, and we need it to fit where the student is, and not, this preconceived notion of how we want it to look. And so we found a lot more flexibility doing the OK Corral series. And we've had a lot of mentors along the way. John Eagle was a big mentor to us, an elder from Standing Rock. And so that really opened the eyes of our department to the power of the horse. And then it doesn't have to be anything rigid or a set agenda. It's just the power of having the horse available makes a huge difference.
So a question that I have for both you guys is, when somebody experiences a trauma, and we're trying to heal a trauma as a therapist, you have to provide a safe place. You have to provide connection with someone that they can talk to, or someone they can interact with, in order to begin to process that trauma. How does equine therapy meet those needs of providing safety, providing connection, and providing a way to an avenue for cultural coping?
We end up, like a lot of times when we begin, you have to remember, Scott, a lot of these kids have never been around a horse. They've, just because they come from a reservation does not mean that every family owns a horse.
Right.
So what we do is we always start off the first of the year with a safety talk. Okay, everybody goes through them. Okay, then from there we have individual sessions. In the first session that we do, everybody has to go on a walk. These horses, they know this path. They know they've been trained for this. They've been tested. Every year they go through a test, just in case something, like they haven't been around something. So I make sure that these kids and these horses are able to do this. Okay, I would never put them in a situation where they're in danger or not safe. So every single year, everybody is tested. If I find 1 ounce of something that's not right, we retest. We keep doing it until they get it down. So when the kids go on their first walk, everybody's ready. Okay. A lot of times though the kids, we always start them out with the smaller horses. So it's always kind of like an introductory. And then from there, once we get that first walk out of the way, then we can go in and we can do bigger and better things. I always say that first walk is kind of like the confidence builder, okay? Because you have to get, it's a 50-50 thing. You're introducing the horse to the kid. And if you don't have confidence to walk that horse, then it's kind of like nothing else is going to fall into play. So we always try and build that confidence right out the gate. Once that's done, then we can go on and we can do other things. Because I think it's it's kind of a mind thing for both the horse and the kid to know, hey, we got this. We can do this. And it kind of builds that stepping stone to get them out there the next week and say, hey, what are we doing now? Sometimes we don't even do anything in the round pen. All they want to do is go for a walk and talk. And if you can do that and you can get kids talking, then why not,
But you have to feel safe around the horse, and that's the first step of it.
Yes.
Just like a kid comes to me for therapy or counseling, they have to feel safe with me, or you're not going anywhere.
And Scott, the counselor's experience, if they're working with a child that has experienced trauma, sometimes that trauma may be experienced when the child was very young, pre-verbal skills, and so being around the horse is a way to have a child feel safe. Patty creates a nice environment for that, but to also allow that child to process without using language and without having to talk about it. We've had a lot of students experience grief and process their grief with the walks with the horses or just brushing the horse. Our high school girls group does a lot of activities with the horses to help with processing some emotions, such as painting the horses and spending time grooming horses, braiding the mane, those types of activities that allow students to connect on that emotional level without having to use the words to do that.
I like that because, and I've been thinking about that as you guys have been talking, that so much of emotion, our inside emotions or what we're thinking, feeling, is so hard to express through words, especially when we're feeling those emotions. And it's such a great tool to be able to express yourself in a way that doesn't necessarily involve words. So Patty, you have enough to keep you busy at home. I mean, you've got your horses at home, you've got your business at home. You made a decision to come to us 4 years ago to be a part of this with the kids. What is your hope that this program will bring to these children?
My hope, I guess, would be in a perfect world, would be that, they wouldn't need us. I mean, seriously, if it was a perfect world and everybody was where they needed to be, we wouldn't be needed. Now, is it a perfect world? No, but that would be my hope. I mean, that there's always going to be, something out there where we're going to have to use the horses in therapy or, some sort of crisis, I guess. It would be great if there was a lot of healing, and it's hard. I see a lot on my reservation, and it's tough to know that what I see, can it be fixed in time? Yes. Is it something that I can fix if I have the opportunity? Yes. But it's hard. It's hard to see it. And a lot of these kids, they have to live it. And so until there's changes, we're gonna be here.
So I always think that the best kind of therapy is when they think they're not in therapy, when they don't recognize that it's actually therapy, and that's kind of what the horses do in a way. Is you're healing and taking part in therapy when you don't really know it. And the program, you've been here 4 years, but the program, the inception of it was 5, 6, 10 years ago?
5.5.
5.5, okay. What does it consist of today? And let's just say there's a huge, we kind of touched on it at the beginning of the podcast, but there's a huge growth that's just about to happen. If we can just get through the winter and get everything built, we're headed someplace pretty cool.
You mean our barn?
Yeah, the barn. What does it consist of? What are we doing right now, and where is it headed from there?
Okay, so the barn consists of over 19,000 square feet of space.
Yeah.
Inside the barn, we'll have a riding arena. We'll have 12 horse stalls, some space for tack to be stored. We'll also have a classroom that will be able to have 35 people in the classroom, space for that. There's 2 offices because we're hoping to expand with staff as well in the future. We have an observation deck so that counselors, families, during trainings, people can observe what's going on down in the riding arena to help us support students. And so we're really excited because it'll be heated. It'll be something we can use year round.
Yep.
The horses will have a nice, safe space to go when needed. We're just very excited to see how that expands. I think one of the things that I really feel strongly about is giving back to the people that have helped us in this process. And part of that is providing equine trainings for the community, for other tribal communities. How we kind of started learning about this from St. Joe's perspective is traveling to reservation communities and learning from the programs that were established there. And so being able to take that knowledge from those friends of ours that helped us along the way, it's been exciting and something that I feel strongly about. We need to make sure that we're giving back to our community. I think having the Equine Therapy Center is just going to open the doors to more opportunities to do family camps in the summer. We have a space that is protected from the elements. We're not, at the whim of snow and rain and wind.
Understanding the confidentiality of what we do, and not every child wants to be identified. Not every story should be identified. Is there something you can leave us with, a story about the impact on a particular student, or something that's really struck you?
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Actually. You were with me.
I was going to say, can I one of my kids be one of them? Yeah.
You were with me.
Yep.
And I remember it was, I do believe it was the first guidance class that we had together. We do 7th grade.
Yep.
And there was an individual, a boy, and we just finished up guidance that day. And I think the kids were walking the horses around, or they wanted to pet them, or they were doing some activity with them. I'm like, yeah, sure. We had a little free time. And one of the individuals was with Pony Boy, I do believe. Yeah, it was Pony Boy. And you took their picture.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep. To send to their parent, correct?
Yep. And so, anyway, I do believe it was like the first time he had been with Pony Boy.
Yeah.
But not the first time he'd been with a horse.
Right.
And again, he was in the 7th grade. And then after class was over, all the kids went back to the office, and then I seen him again that week. And I think you guys were getting his pass ready. And he could not decide what he wanted for his pass. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, we were in my office, and he didn't know what image he wanted to put on the back of his pass.
Yeah, and I was throwing Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. He's like, no,
something to personalize it.
And I think you told him the next week. He still didn't have it. And so then the next week came, and he still didn't have it. And so I was like, well, put a picture of me on the back of it. I was just joking with him. And I think it was like the 3rd week, you're like, dude, we got to get a picture on the back of the pass. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, good luck. I want to see it. When you get it done, I want to see it. And you guys were in the copy room. Do you remember that? And you were laminating his pass. I'm like, and you're like, hey, he's got a picture. And he was just smiling. He was ear to ear. And I'm like, well, what is it? And you're like, just a minute, let it finish getting laminated. You pulled it out of the laminator, and it was a picture of him and Pony Boy.
Yeah.
the first picture with him and Ponyboy.
Right.
And after that was his horse.
Yep.
Do you remember that? Every
yeah.
time we go walking, it was him and Ponyboy. So that to me was like probably one of the best introductories that I ever did.
Yeah.
Because his face would just beam
Yeah.
when they worked together.
Yep.
It was great.
And that was your first year here too. I remember that.
Yeah.
So first we were just getting started, and that was a big deal. So he provided safety. Mm-hmm. He had the connection with the horse.
Yep.
And now we can start to work on the trauma.
Yep.
So Robin, can you just give us an idea? What do you think the impact of having horses on campus has been?
I think from the very first moment that horses came to campus, there was a change, a shift. The second we had the trailer pull up and horses step out and put their hooves on the ground, the students were out at recess. And so the stillness that happened when the horses became part of campus was tremendous. Seeing the students curious and wondering what's happening and wanting to approach the horses and be part of that was such a profound feeling. You could tell something had changed. And when we did our training with John Eagle, one of the things that he shared with us that really I think holds true and something that we need to honor and carry out throughout every stage of our program is, he said, we're bringing the ancestors back to the children. And that was something that many of us counselors really hold on to and want to make sure that we're doing that each and every day with the horses. They are our relatives, and we need to make sure that we're honoring them and allowing that space for healing and for students to be part of that.
And they definitely do bless our campus, and it's great to have them here. So, and it was great to have you guys here too. So, thank you for being here with us today. And thank you to our audience too for being a part of Hochoka here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian School's campus, where we talk about issues that are central to Native American education today. Until next time, stay centered.